The path that leads to truth is littered with the bodies of the ignorant. My friends, the path to truth for us is being able to accurately chart and predict price movement. And we do that based upon really three things. Establishing trends, particularly when old trends change. One of the best charts I can typically show you is the S&P 500, where over and over again we see great patterns. You can find the same with the NASDAQ 100. Most of the time you can find it with 20-year bonds. Same with gold. Bitcoin, it's better. It's better this time than it has been. Again, we're waiting for Bitcoin to reestablish itself, and that happens sometimes, that you find that charts start to move in directions that aren't chartable, and then they get better. So we'll continue to watch things and follow Bitcoin and keep you posted. You guys asked me to start tracking it. It wasn't one of the charts that we initially tracked, but we started doing it because you wanted us to, and it's interesting, and we'll continue to do it. But let's jump into, again, short market today. Markets closed yesterday for Thanksgiving, and as we record this at about 3:20 in the afternoon on Friday, we had a short trading day. When we look at what's up with the S&P 500, our first chart to go to, up a little bit for the day, 0.06%. And as we look at the S&P 500, you can see that we have finished a third week of up movement, bigger candle, higher high. But look at that volume. Now, part of the volume, of course, market was closed for a day. And I don't think these charts then synthesize that into 4 instead of 5 days. I think we're probably just showing, and again, it's only about half. So regardless of how it is, not a great deal of volume. We look at where we are on the 2-day chart. This was Wednesday, Friday, and we can see again lower volume. Look at the volume here that we see on our half-day chart, and again, not much going on there. So what we are really focusing on is what this weekly chart has done, particularly price-wise. And again, going up like stair steps, good to see. Now, what about the NASDAQ? Down a little bit for the day, 0.20%. Still about the same size candle, higher high, looking decent. Not a lot of volume to track. Again, we'll keep our eye on things as we jump into this next week, with stocks hopefully resuming that climb, continuing to move up. And of course, as we look, we can see that we've passed those prior highs, prior most recent highs. So that's good to see. We'll see how far this will go. Now, what about bonds? Bonds pulling back for the day. We can see down on the half-day chart. On the 2-day chart, we can see that we have reached a little bit of a higher high. Now, that was, of course, on Wednesday morning where it tapped that. Again, that's a 2-day candle. We can see on the half-day what happened over those 4 half-day candles, right? It takes 4 half-day candles to make a 2-day. It takes 2.5 2-day candles or 10 half-day candles to make a weekly chart on a typical week. This week it's only 8 half days because we only had 4 days. And you can see that it did record an afternoon candle. I guess that's 15 minutes long. So anyway, that's what it's showing us. So because the market closed at 1, of course. Now, as we look at where we are on the weekly, we can tell that we're continuing to move up. Bonds continuing to move up. We're going to update our trend line now that the week is out. And again, as we do that, it gives a little bit more of a vertical there, or going up a little faster. So we'll keep an eye on it as we jump into this next week. But again, bonds moving in the up direction. So we are long them. Now, what about gold? Well, we can see that gold hit its high on the 2-day candle back on the Monday, Tuesday. And as we look at that, we can actually see Tuesday morning is where that occurred. Again, the prior 2 weeks to this green week were spinning tops. We did have higher than average volume that first week, beginning the 6th of November, and then lower than average volume the next week. Again, an even smaller spinning top, not quite a doji. This week, though, a green candle. So we'll be watching and seeing, is gold reestablishing itself? Not a lot of volume to help us out here, is it? If we had high volume, that would tell us one thing, but we don't. So again, very iffy as this potential new trend starts. What do we like to see? We like to see volume like we saw back on the 13th of March, where things bottomed out higher than average volume with a spinning top, and then of course bounded up that next week and moved up for several weeks after that, slid sideways, popped up again, and then on high volume where we saw it popping up, it then rolled over average volume and headed down for a while. You can see when it turned around, weak volume didn't really hold it, did it? And then back over and then sideways. And then we saw high volume as it went down, and we were just able to capture that. And then what happened? Turned right around on higher than average volume. We saw it bottoming, then moved around on the 9th. And of course, that was a beautiful, beautiful up move there. So again, volume coupled with price movement, coupled with trend lines. That's what we teach here. That's the key here. Now, let's move on lastly and look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin just about flat. It says down 0.06%. You can see that price movement is above the weekly trend line on the half-day and the 2-day. Lots of indecision there on the 2-day. You can see just haphazard movement. Again, continuing to track up a little bit, though, on the half-day. And as we look at the weekly, we can see that we've really just been pretty much sliding sideways. You can see where things peaked on that 2-day chart and on the half-day here on Thursday, the 9th of November. And since then, really just drifting sideways. So waiting to see what's going to happen. I mean, low, we look at the volume. We didn't quite hit average volume, but look at those prior weeks with all that volume. So we will keep an eye on Bitcoin, see which way it tends to go. We've seen Bitcoin, top, slide sideways, move down, top, slide sideways, move down. What we've seen over the course of this year would lead us to believe that we're topping right here and getting ready to slide over and down. So we'll keep an eye on that as we move into this next week. That's where we are with our charts. Thank you for putting up with me as I have been on vacation traveling this week, coming to you from sea using Starlink. It is slow and cumbersome to upload. I'm not blaming that on Starlink. I'm blaming it on the overuse of it on the vessel that I'm on. I'm noticing right now things are moving really quickly because most people are off the vessel. So we'll see as I get this uploaded for you. Sorry, not been able to do the three-wave trades, the charting cryptos, commodities, and currencies. And because of sort of the funkiness of the week, we did not do the weekly vertical crossovers, but we'll be back in full swing this next week. Hope everyone had a wonderful holiday and you have a blessed weekend. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.